Well, good afternoon, and thank you for coming after the lunch talk. Huge thanks to Blake Bullock for an awesome, inspiring talk on her journey with James Webb Space Telescope, which actually is the perfect setup for my keynote today, which is, who do you think you are? And I mean, we're awesome, right? And thinking about James Webb is also a journey of who are we and where did we come from as we look to the future to figure out the past. So my goal today is a little break from all the content you've been experiencing today on human spaceflight and exploration and science. We're going to take a little bit deeper look into ourselves. Who's with me on that? Yeah? Okay. So Blake actually, she didn't realize it, but she started by talking about what's important to you. So I want to first tell you what's important to me. And this is a lot about why I'm in the industry. When I was a junior in high school is when I figured out I wanted to be in aerospace. So I thought I was going to be a doctor, but I didn't like blood. Then I was going to be a dentist, but you have to deal with like bad breath. So then I thought, okay, I'll be an engineer. I liked math and science. I had no idea what engineers did. I lived outside of Detroit. Everything was automotive. So apparently engineering meant cars. Okay, I thought cars were very boring. So I thought, well, now I can't be an engineer because I don't want to work on cars. So I had this aha moment at a career fair for high school girls downtown Detroit, and I was at the back of the room because they were talking about cars. I'm like, oh, this is not going to work. And there was a little flyer in the back of the room by Bendix, who was doing automotive parts and parts for the space shuttle, which had first flown when I was in high school. And I don't know, but this thing about aerospace, I'm like, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to do things that have never been done before. And I had this aha epiphany moment that I would go into aerospace engineering. Well, then I was also going to do an MBA and be head of NASA. So haven't done all that yet, or maybe yet, yeah. And I just realized this is going to be my journey. This is my guiding principle. What I didn't realize at age 16 at the time, that this really was going to be my guiding principle in this aha moment. So I've done a lot of different things. The first thing I'm most grateful for is my family. These are my parents and my two brothers. We all went to Michigan. For those of you who know me, I'm a really big fan of college football and Michigan Wolverines. I was born there, third generation, and this is one of my favorite pictures because it was just this last fall when we beat Ohio State. So it was really cool. And all the spouses, the kids, my nieces and nephew, everybody left us alone, so just the five of us were together, and so special. And I'm like, this is where my values come from. Core of my family. I've done lots of different things in my career. You can look at my bio. I won't go through it. But each one was on this path of doing something that had never been done before, something that was a discovery. The irony is, while I said I didn't like cars, apparently I was influenced by transportation because I studied rockets and propulsion. I just wanted to go farther and faster. So this has been very much a part of me. So really, when you think about why you go to work every day, why are you in aerospace, why are you making the choices you make? Blake's talk earlier, there was a question about bringing more women into the room, bringing in more diversity. Are you making time for the things that are important to you, which really comes down to your values. What are your values, and are they aligned, or how they are aligned with the choices that you make every day? So this list here is something that I did in a program called Stagen. I'm actually in a leadership program that that Airbus is sponsoring me in. So no matter what phase you are in your career, there's still opportunity to learn. And I am still learning. And I'll graduate from this program at the end of April. So we did this exercise on core values and to say, what are your guiding principles? And I'm like, oh, I got mine because I did it when I was 16. I just know it so clearly. That's when the work began. So I'm going to invite you to do a little exercise with me. On your chairs, or nearby, if it's not on your chair, go grab a little flyer. It looks like this. This is actually, you can download this. It's a little different than the one I have up on the screen, the one that I did. But this is a list of values from Brené Brown's website. If you don't know her, she's really well known for her leadership books, Dare to Lead, and a podcast that is all about making a difference and being true to yourself and finding out who you really are. So as your day-to-day things come up, you can really do it from a place of authenticity. So we're going to have a little quiet time now. I'm going to set the timer for a minute, and I invite you to just take out a pen and go through this list and circle what pops to your mind. Take the time. Don't overthink it. There's no right or wrong answer. And you might say, well, what is important to me? Is it work me? Is it who I am at home? Is it who I am with my friends? The answer is it's who you are, wherever that is. So take a minute of silence and just explore. You can pick, it's a good question, you can pick however many you want. However, you can pick all of them, you can pick one, you can pick 10, there's no right or wrong answer. And you may find that there's some things that sound the same, but that's okay. Just circle what sparks your interest. All right, that's our 1 minute. Before we move on, I invite you all to take just a deep breath with me, just to recalibrate for a sec. So close your eyes if you like, but just deep breath in and exhale. And open your eyes. Wasn't that minute joyful of how quiet it is and how quickly the time goes? Here's my first cut at when I did this particular exercise, and I circled a number of things. The list, like I said, is a little bit different, but it doesn't matter. It's the same point. I did the same exercise last week with my team to prepare and circled with hot pink. And actually, I noted that this was a moment of vulnerability because we shared with each other. Your homework later, we don't have time in 15 minutes, will be to take your list and share with a friend or colleague or family member and share what you've discovered. But now let's take it another level. The next part of the exercise is to group and prioritize. How many of you might notice that a few of the values that you wrote down kind of sort of sound the same? Did anybody notice that? a few themes. So this is part of it. And to the question of how many do you pick, the idea, I'll give you a look ahead to the homework, is to see if you can narrow it down to 2, maybe 3. So the exercise that I did in my leadership course is, remember, I said, oh, I've got this. I like to do things that have never been done before. But you really come down to it. I'm like, well, why? And what's behind that? And how do you put a name to it? So this is my real homework from July of 2022. And I had 5 values, and each one had a subset. So you can see them here. Pioneering is the one that how I named this part about doing things that have never been done before. It sounds a lot better. Like pioneer is like, ooh, that is that difference. And what comes behind that? It's about learning, it's about achieving, it's about inspiration. And then the next one I had was agility. I really like doing things that are ways to do faster and be really clever and responsive and creative. So that had another element of importance. Community was also important. I was back with my family in summer of last year. And in fact, it was right around the time of this. It gave me another aha moment, which was how important community was to me. And my family, my friends, my space peeps, my mentees, and all of my colleagues that help make things happen. And I thought, that's actually really important as well. Individuality, creativity, diversity, inclusion, bringing your own best self to whatever it is you do, freedom of thought, of expression, like that's important to me too. And then I had one that I called wealth. So wealth could sound like a bad word, like, oh, you want to be rich. Well, if you think about being rich in spirit, in wellness, in abundant relationships and knowledge and creativity, there's a lot of different ways to define wealth. So your homework will be to group and prioritize. Let me jump forward a little bit more. So in getting ready for this talk, I read another blog, and I invite you to look at this one as well, by Colin Breck. So he's a software engineer, and he has a blog on software development and scrums, et cetera. He also has this incredible perspective on values and leadership, both as an individual and a team. So he said, okay, this was the challenge I took of how do you narrow down to 2? Coincidentally, I also have a group of women that we meet every Wednesday at 6 a.m. It sounds crazy. It is kind of crazy. And we spend a half hour, 25 minutes on wellness topics about health, stress, sleep, food, the choices and habits that we make in our life. And then the second half is all a strength workout in kettlebells. So, I mean, we're some badass women, I gotta tell you. But we first clear our mind, and then we focus on our body. So the same exercise was done, and our coach said, I want you to do this exercise on values and come up with 2. And I was like, oh yeah, I got this because I have 5. I just did 5 last summer. Now granted it was 6 a.m. I could only remember 2 of them, and maybe 2.5. And I thought, okay, if I just spent all this time narrowing to my 5 values and I can only remember 2 of them, the others must not be that important, or maybe it's a deeper look at those 2. So just a couple weeks ago, I did it again. And I realized my 2 core values of who I am, that pioneering and community, and all those other things about agility and individuality, the ingredients flowed up to these. And then I put wellness because I thought in order to do them, and I don't know, maybe that circle goes around it, is the wellness of your brain, your body. Okay, I did put in the bank account. It gives some freedom and inspiration. And I had to put Bloomingdale's because I really like shoes and fashion. And I thought, it's okay. This is an expression of who I am, so I'm going to put that in there. People are laughing because they kind of know this is true. So what's next for that? So your homework, again, is going to be take that step and see if you really can narrow it to 2. By the way, I said it doesn't happen in 15 minutes. It doesn't happen in a day. My journey in this has been coming up on a year. And in fact, I have some homework due next month. I'm not going to share it with you because I'm not done yet, but is leveling up to see, now can I put those values into an expression of who I am? And for me, that's going to be a purpose statement. This is taken from Colin Breck, where he took his 2 values and narrowed it to quality and knowledge and started to write a story about it. What did quality mean to him? What did knowledge mean to him? And when you share with your friends or family or coworkers, you really start to get to the details, because all those other ingredients lead up to how you define your value. Someone else may have a different definition of quality and knowledge that reflects who they are. It's really powerful, and then you know, why are you staying late at work? Why are you putting in the 100 hours it took to meet that milestone for the customer, to explore James Webb, to go explore Space Development Agency, national security, whatever it is? When you know who you are, you will come to work and in your life and with your friends with the most power behind it. So my challenge to you today is to take a little bit of this inspiration. It's the start of Satellite 2023. Excuse me. There is tremendous discovery and innovation going on that's reflected in every talk, in every conversation going around the exhibit hall. So I invite you to build your path, follow that path, and bring it to you every day. Your homework is here. You've started it now. Exploring your values, circling them, create that list. So take what you did on the circles, write it down. Group them, prioritize them, play around with it. I play around with mine because each time when I was given, quote, the test, I'm like, I already know the answer. That was the knower in me. The learner in me realized that there's a lot more to who I am, and actually pretty core. And that has stayed true to myself regardless of what I do. I bring that every day. So I challenge you to narrow it to 2. I challenge you to write your story from that, informing your purpose, informing your priorities, and most importantly, share it with those around you. It lets you own it. It lets you really understand who your teammates are, who your friends are. Maybe your family will understand, why do you do rocket science anyway? And bring your own inspiration to whatever it is that you do. That's my talk today. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I look forward to exploring and being part of this journey with you. Thank you.